There we go. Welcome to the Ides of March. Welcome to the March 15th meeting of the EDIC. Before I start, we have a new member. Casey Douglas, thank you. Does everyone know Casey?
Yep.
Do you know everyone here?
Yes.
Sweet, okay, cool. Call to order. First, did everyone get the, obviously I got the agenda, but everyone have a chance to, I didn't include you on the agenda because I didn't know you were going to be here.
Yeah, I know.
Do you want to look over or and make a copy?
Here you go, here you go.
Okay.
Sure.
Did everyone get the minutes that I sent?
I got the minutes, but I have the
There had
minutes.
some comments on them.
Okay, good. Corrections?
Yeah, minor.
Fine. I do have there be some.
Just,
I misspelled Jessica's last name. It's E-N. It's A-N. Okay.
yeah.
I think I saw that. I will correct that. The Agrotech building applied for a special permit manufacturing. Okay. I'll change that wording. Change Jessica's name again. So that's right. We did not talk about the sign ordinance.
Yeah.
And what? Oh, school. Okay.
Just a minor.
Okay, I will make these edits. And then I will copy everyone else when I make the edits.
Okay.
Let me read them to you so at least you can vote on them. Aside from the correcting of Jessica's last name, spelling-wise, in the planning department report, Agrotech building applied for a special, I wrote manufacturing and retain permit. The correct wording should be Agrotech building applied for a special
Special permit.
manufacturing permit, wouldn't it be?
It's a special permit for manufacturing.
For manufacturing, okay. Special permit for manufacturing. And
Sorry.
where I wrote solar ordinance discussion, that was really discussion about, where I wrote sign ordinance discussion, it was really discussion about solar.
Mm-hmm.
And I misspelled Maren Goldstein's first name. And Jamie is requesting that we cross out the phrase that fields requests from homeowners.
Yeah.
The sentence was, Jessica shared that the city does not have an energy committee does have an energy committee headed by Maren Goldstein.
Right.
And I said that fields requests from homeowners.
And they don't.
They don't, okay, so we're taking that out.
They work to advise the mayor on energy projects within the city for city buildings and
Okay.
citywide stuff, but they could, I think what Jessica was getting at was that homeowners could, if the energy committee wanted to take on one of these solar type projects that fields requests, that would be something new that they would be doing.
Okay. As far as the minutes go, I'm taking that,
Yeah.
those 5 words out.
Okay.
And the only other thing is misspelling of the word school. So, with those changes, can I have a motion to, does anyone have any other comments about the minutes from last month? Anyone want to make a proposal to accept them? Any second?
Second.
All in favor? Any negative?
I'm abstaining, I was in
And one
here.
abstention. Okay. Okay. Hey, Tom.
Hey, guys.
Welcome. Thank you. I'll make those changes and I will send them to all of us. You want here? Okay. So you move to the- okay.
Guys, I'll squeeze down
That's right.
here. Thanks. David.
Yay.
I keep you two in line.
You know, trouble that.
Great.
Don't you get that?
Wow.
Anyone here for public speak? Okay. Tom, you missed, we have a new member? Casey Douglas?
Tom
Tom
Brown.
Brown? Good to see you, buddy. Okay, planning department report?
Let's see, zone change, so 130 Cottage Street, the letter was submitted to the city clerk, and I think on a technicality she had them resubmit it, but I don't know if the resubmission has been done, but they are intent on doing that and going through that process with the city council.
For the record, that's to change the zoning to business?
Yeah, at 130 Cottage, it's currently zoned R10, and they're requesting a change to downtown business.
Okay.
I think the letter was signed by the realtor with authorization from the owner, but the owner has the letter has to come from the owner directly.
Okay.
with the authorization of the Realtor to represent them at the hearing or something, but
And did you say before, Jamie, that that change is sort of semi-automatic?
no. It still has to go through City Council, Ordinance Committee, Planning Board,
Okay.
review, and then the full go to the City Council.
Okay.
So the letter was submitted by the Realtor owner to whom?
To the City Council.
To the
So it's
city.
good, the way that the ordinance can be changed is by the petition, by a letter from the property owner
Yeah, okay.
to the City Council.
Okay.
And then they'll forward it to the Planning Board and the City Council Ordinance Subcommittee.
Maybe what I meant by automatic is some of these properties we identified were sort of, obviously, they should be zoned differently, but again, it still takes approval of the council, but the
Right.
the change is kind of an obvious, based on where the property is located.
I
Yeah.
I think that's a
Well,
matter,
to the beholder.
I think that's
Yeah.
a, that's
To the
a,
beholder.
To the beholder, it's
I think it's
obvious.
it's a matter of opinion, and people could, reasonable people could argue one way or the other on all of these properties.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. Maybe
you know, but-
butters or something could argue
Yeah,
this, I suppose.
but in this case, it would seem to be pretty straightforward, the property, there are no objections to it on like legal or like technical for like trying to spot zoning in the middle of a district.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
It shares the border with the downtown business district, we're really just shifting the border, or what they're asking is to shift the border from the boundary from the east side of the west side of the building to the east side of the building.
Yeah.
So that, in the past, the city council has looked favorably on those types of,
Yeah.
they changed the zone twice for, property on Main Street between the downtown business and the R5.
Good.
Okay.
The Yankee Hill machine, we talked about that last time, 142 Main Street, special permit going before the planning board for manufacturing. The hearing is continued. They had a couple questions that they needed more time for the applicant to respond to, so it's continued to tonight, planning board meeting. And that's manufacturing, it's gonna employ, to start 120 people, and they're considering adding a third shift for another 60 employees. 142 Main Street, it's the former Argotech building.
Just on the other side of the veterinary hospital on Route 10.
And they're moving from?
They're moving
Oh, okay.
from Northampton.
Oh, from Northampton.
Yankee
And
Hill.
Oh,
is-
Yankee Hill, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Is the border between East House and Southampton right on their, do they abut the border?
No. There's
No,
a
the
few more
border is
properties
a
in
few
between.
more down, right, basically at the Southampton Plaza.
Coleman Road.
Really?
Coleman
Okay.
Road, yeah, where's Verizon?
It's a
Oh, okay, so is the Verizon?
Verizon's in Southampton, no,
That's
Southampton.
in Southampton,
Verizon is.
okay. But
So
then,
Verizon's,
Isn't it?
no,
No,
Verizon's,
no, it's
the,
East Hampton, oh, really? I thought it was
the
Southampton.
property line goes at an angle.
It's
Oh,
like
okay.
right on the
On the edge.
edge.
Okay. I was
I don't know if you can get any
thinking
more close to the edge.
Yeah.
okay.
Is that Yankee Hill
Well, luckily-
Manufacturing
Yankee Hill Machine Company.
Machine Company? Okay, thank you.
They produce firearms,
Mhm.
and they're manufacturing, and I think there's a small retail component that they're also proposing, so.
Now, were they adding jobs with their move or just moving the jobs they have? Do you recall?
My understanding is that they would be moving, so it's creating jobs in East Hampton, but Northampton's losing
Losing,
a
right.
comparative amount, but by adding that third shift,
Yeah.
they would be creating something like 60 new jobs that they do not have. I don't know if they have another facility and they would be, combining operations for a net
Yeah.
gain of 0, or, I don't know the details.
So they don't own where they are, Dave? Over there in?
Well, I think they
State?
do, I think they do.
What do they manufacture?
I don't know.
Guns.
I don't know.
Somebody's-
the structure.
Yankee Hill is the name of the business?
Yankee Hill
Yeah.
Machine.
They're tucked way down in
Yeah.
Bay State in Northampton now, down by the Cutlery Building.
Oh, that's right, yeah,
Mm.
If you come down the Clement Street Bridge, they'd be on your right.
yeah.
I don't recall if we talked, if Josh had brought up, or if we needed some sort of letter of support from us. No,
No.
not necessarily.
No, it's really just this is going on.
Okay.
If people want to speak in support of it, the meeting's tonight.
Good.
The other application before the planning board is from Hamilton Care. They're gonna be, they're applying for a special permit to open up a medical marijuana dispensary in the, one of the Pleasant Street mills. There'd also be they'd be producing it there and then selling it as well.
Producing, growing there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen other businesses identify that that's gonna be their new
Yeah, I've
location.
heard
Has that
that
been
too.
split up inside in any way, or?
There, I don't know, but it's a huge building. There's a
Yeah.
lot of space, I think.
Well, like,
I've heard
the
that
ones
Peter
leave-
Davies said there was a bunch of them.
The ones leaving Cottage Street are
Yeah.
presumably announcing that as their new address.
Yeah.
Some of the businesses leaving Cottage Street, the Felting Place,
KW
Yeah.
home.
KW Home, they're
Home.
mentioning that as their new location.
Yep.
I just didn't realize it had been divided up inside.
Yeah, they're
I
they're
think
doing a
they're-
lot of work in there.
Yeah, I know that, and I
Yeah.
think it was basically just a giant
Opens.
open warehouse, and
Yeah.
so they're gonna be dividing it up
This is
to
as a
suit
lot.
for their new tenants.
What's the actual address?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's where he's going.
140?
I knew he was talking about.
142?
Yeah.
140 Pleasant Street.
It's the former Selco.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
he just wants the things in.
140 Pleasant.
Yeah, there you go.
142, I believe.
142.
122, yeah.
122,
122?
142.
I think it's 122 Pleasant.
Plus.
That's why I was just
These
saying.
were
This is where-
16.
First
That's
base.
kind of
That's
like
what
third
it's
way.
16.
It's former
Yeah.
Selco.
No, it's gotta be 142 because,
Hampton Care.
Mike
Hampton
Beechon's
Care,
180.
that's,
And there's
Marijuana
150 in
distributor.
between.
Yeah.
Paragon is,
Okay, because there's a 122 on the building, I know that.
Yeah.
Unless it's 122 to 142.
A lot of the buildings, they're, you know, they have 10 number ranges in
Yeah.
between
I
the,
think that's probably what it is.
so they have, you know, 122 to 142, and then,
Looks like fine.
I don't know, there's 1,000,000+ square feet between all the different owners
Okay,
on the
wow.
Pleasant Street Mills, so.
Good.
Who's
uh,
developing the property as a whole?
I know Peter Davies is very involved in it, so.
Yeah, there's a, I don't know who the owners are, but,
Yeah.
it's multiple people.
Well, there was, one of the owners came to 2 of our meetings, Jim Whitmore. There's
Oh,
a little
okay.
partnership, but Jim
Yeah.
attended 2 of our meetings,
Yeah.
and he's the driver behind it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know the money in my project is also the money in that project,
Mhm.
same folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's it.
All good news?
That's good news.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice
yeah.
report, thank you. ECA Plus report.
I am no longer on the ECA Plus because I can't do Thursday nights anymore, so,
Okay.
that's just of this last month, so, I will see what we can do so that I can get information from them.
Okay.
I might be back on in the near future, but right now I can't do any of the meetings on Thursday
Maybe if you
night.
could ask any of the people
Denise.
that are still in,
Yeah,
who would like
Okay.
to join the, because
Okay.
we still have 2 slots open,
okay, all right.
so. I thought about Jean-Pierre at one point, he's,
Nah, he's pretty flat out,
Is
I
he-
know,
okay.
yeah.
okay,
Um,
well, that could be a little assignment if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind, I don't mind.
Okay. Well, which leads us to our next topic on the agenda, there's open EDIC positions. Does anyone have any other possibilities that they're thinking of? The mayor had given me the name of someone. It escapes me right now who it was, who had expressed some interest. I could go back and email and look at, see it after minutes.
What did our new number end up?
10,
So we're only
2 shy.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Last meeting it was discussed about whether or not we wanted to reduce it down to 8. But, or 9.
Nine.
Nine, so we'd have an odd number, and I was against that. Number one, because it's very rare that are we actually deadlocked on
Right.
a thing. And the other one is that I didn't wanna have the council see us making more changes, you know. Going from 15 down to 10 was a big deal.
Really?
So I don't want, yeah.
Well, big deal meaning, I guess you want to be careful of just send some sort of negative message that
Yeah.
we're just trying to shrink the size so that we can oversee the quorum.
Yeah.
I think, I agree, if we ever point where a deciding vote is gonna be up or down on an issue, I think we've done something wrong.
Right,
Because it
that's
should
true.
be, it doesn't have to be unanimous, but it ought to be a lot closer than
Right.
5-5.
Yeah, but there were also some people that took that opportunity to question what we were doing and the viability of this committee. So, you know, if we don't have to go through that again, or they don't have to go through it.
Well, remember, any question's fair, you can ask it back of them too. What are they doing?
I'll let you do that.
California,
Okay. Next thing would be the May cleanup day planning. Actually, I owed you, I was gonna get in touch with you, and we
Yes.
never got together.
Right.
You're not backing out of being the point person of the point place, so.
Well, here's the
get that out
deal.
of your head.
Here's the deal.
Get it
The
right out of your
last
head.
time we chatted about this was that I am perfectly happy to host and be the central location, be there, open the door and and do all of that. I don't have the time to do all the legwork and to be the execution person of all of that.
Were you
So-
before?
Well, we were. Yeah.
Well,
But
last year.
Josh was kind enough last year to pick up that ball
Yeah.
and run with it,
Yeah, no,
so.
we just need your place, we don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of think the way we did it last year.
It's fine, yeah.
Was the way it should, and I don't
Yep.
remember your predecessor doing that much more, particularly.
Yeah.
When
It's
Sue,
my
when Sue was on
understanding
this
that-
group, she kind of spearheaded that whole big chart, kept, told people where to go and stuff.
Which I did last year, and
Right.
I'll do that again this year.
But you have all
What's
the.
the
And I
date
do
on
the
that?
marketing.
Yep,
which
and
is
that's
May,
why I think,
May 7th.
First Saturday in May.
May 7th.
And it goes really quick now, I mean, if we're
It
there
does.
at 11 o'clock, we're doing something wrong.
Right.
You know,
Well,
starts at 8 and we're usually done by,
Yeah.
no later than.
That was,
yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, so my to-dos on that, I'm doing the poster, and
You were gonna contact Willis?
the advertising poster, also the big job poster, and I'll coordinate with Denise on that. And I'm working with Williston to get
The mulch.
volunteers.
The mulch.
No, I'm working with Williston to get the mulch money,
Yeah.
but I'm also gonna work with Williston for volunteers,
Have you talked to
and I
them
will
yet?
take care of getting the mulch.
Have you talked to them yet?
Not yet.
Or do you want someone else to? or-
No, I will.
Okay.
I mean, well, unless, no, because I already have a rapport with Chuck in terms of the money. Actually, yeah, for the volunteers, if someone else wants to spearhead the volunteer part. But I figured if I'm talking to Chuck, he gave me another contact though for the volunteers.
Right.
So, I'm happy to do both. So those are my to-dos, mulch, and work with Barbara for her share of the mulch for the rail trail.
Yep.
What I want from everyone else is to help me getting more hands-on, more volunteers here. Last year, we had a very nice contingent from Big Y. We also had a contingent from, I think it was the jail,
really?
I think the sheriff's department.
the sheriff's
Sent
department.
some folks over, yeah.
And that ended up being a lot of management.
In what way?
No, I don't want to sound negative, especially given the fact that this is, yeah, it wasn't, but there were certain steps that had to be followed, and I found that kind of slowed things a little bit. They all had to be together at all times. They all had to have a certain number of
Have you
Plan
talked
a
to the
job
Cottage
for 'em.
Street business,
Plan
the
a
group
job
that's,
for 'em.
meeting right now to do the cultural chaos?
well, I'm on that, yeah.
You're on that, so, yeah.
Yeah, well, see, in terms of all of us coming down, I will make that, when there's a meeting tomorrow morning, and I'll make that request
Okay.
tomorrow, in terms of us getting lots of other people. I mean,
I think the key to it, Josh, was advertisement, and if I recall, and I can make a contact with the Gazette, put something out that advertised the cleanup day in advance. They sold ads, I mean, they made it a moneymaker, they're in the business of doing that stuff, but
Who paid for the ads?
the businesses that go around it, the businesses advertise on that page, and they put it in the Summit, and they put it in the paper itself.
Oh, okay.
So
Will you
I can
take that
contact,
on?
yeah.
And I'll give you, I make the flyer.
Yeah.
And I just take the flyer from the last several years.
Just
and-
email it to me,
Okay.
and then I can,
Would you want the planning department to make a Facebook event?
Yeah.
I think so, I was gonna ask that.
That'd be great, okay,
I'll,
thank you.
I'll do that.
The high school's honor society advisor posted your cultural chaos and the cleanup on his Chem Eagles.
Okay. They were great last year for the.
Yeah, the high
Yeah,
school
cleanup
kids
day.
were,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
They were stellar, so if
Yeah.
you want to arrange some more of them this
Well, he
year.
put it out early. He asked me, like, the week you sent that cultural chaos. He called up with a couple of questions and then he posted it all.
But did they post it for cleanup day as
Yeah,
well?
both.
Cultural
Oh, yeah,
Day?
both.
Good,
Yeah,
okay.
both. He was good.
But where you get mom and dad and a couple of kids showing up as they see in the paper, so.
Sure.
I saw several families last year that showed up.
I will get the artwork
Give
to
it
you.
an hour or two, but
I'll get the
yeah,
artwork to you
email
in
it
the
to
next,
me.
this week.
If you give me a copy too, because I can put it up on our website, put it out on Facebook.
Yeah, and if you send it to me, then I'll make sure that it gets
Great.
the right.
Yeah, anybody can give it on their sites too.
I'll put it, just our distribution list. So,
So about cleanup day, over the years, some of us have had our pet peeves. Usually, some of us meant me, but, so one year, we knew there was a bunch of junk in the pond. We actually had divers came and
Wow.
pulled out washing machines and so we pulled out
I remember that.
2 or 3 truckloads of stuff out of the pond with divers there. Did that a couple years in a row, so there wasn't enough that warranted them going back in. But one of my pet peeves right now with the boardwalk and everything is all of the junk that gets caught up in the dam. And then more gets caught up and more, and before you know it, you've got what looks like a log jam there.
Lots of them,
And I don't know if we have a way of safely getting somebody in the water in a boat that either pulls that stuff out or pushes it over, I don't know which.
or can be done with long pulled rakes from the side.
Yeah, it'd be really long though.
Yeah.
Well, if
It'd
you
be
get
really
just the width. you
But some of
do it from
those
each
logs
side.
are, you know, a foot around. They've fallen in from who knows where, and that's where they end up. And I've been standing there before, just sort of looking over the pond, and I hear people comment about what it looks like.
How much of it is, I'm not exact amount, but is most of it natural stuff, like
Yes,
logs?
all of it.
Oh, that's good.
Pretty much.
That's not as bad. Is
Does
there
the Park and
anything?
Recs, would they be able to help us
Yeah.
on
Well,
that
the
day,
dam,
or?
the dam is
DPW?
the dam is DPW, so if there's stuff in the dam, in the spillway, that
It's
would be.
obscuring.
Not in the spillway,
It's obstructing.
stuff, it's
Yeah, but if it's in
Up at the
front of,
top.
if it's in front of the spillway, you know.
at the top of the dam.
Top of the spill.
Hasn't gone over the dam yet.
Right, so it's in front of the spillway,
Yeah.
that's,
The
I
dam
would,
is the
I would,
spillway.
I would contact DPW,
Through,
but if
around
it's
the
on,
spillway.
if it's the boardwalk itself, then
That's not
that's,
the
then
board.
that's.
No,
that's
okay, then
Park
I
and
think
Rec,
that should go through the
because,
DPW.
Yeah.
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 But there's a bunch of this stuff that ought to go through the DPW, but it doesn't get done.
Well,
So that's why we do it on cleanup day.
Because
Well, we
nobody made
participate
made
with
that
us on
alert,
cleanup
I mean,
day.
because made them alert of that, and this is, I think that's out of our bailiwick.
It's kind of dangerous to do that,
Yeah.
you know, if you're
But couldn't we
grabbing
invite
a
them to
hold of
join us on
something
cleanup
that
day?
goes
Yes.
over, you can pull
Yeah.
it over, you know.
I'd almost say
Branch.
have them do that on a day that
Yeah.
they're normally have crews out, because they may not
Right,
have crews
or
on
the day
Saturdays.
before.
I'll just do it after dark.
Are there
Some
any other
beavers
pet
over
peeves
there.
though? I mean,
That's my biggest one, that's it. That's my biggest one. I mean, with the development of Cottage Square, there's now a fence there, so when folks clean over the guardrail, you can only go so far, which is nice. I assume they're gonna take care of the other side of that fence, but they've literally put a pretty high fence up halfway down that bank. So years ago, we used to go almost all the way to the building to clean up, so it's really nice in there, and that's why that whole project's gonna go a lot faster than it ever did.
There is a fishing derby this year too, so the Rotting Gun Club might come and just do a
That's
few
usually in
things.
April, isn't it?
No, more like June.
Is it? Really?
Yeah, but they usually come out early to clean up, like Tom said, the shoreline's changed, but they wanna make it, you know, as accessible as possible.
Yeah, the shoreline that's still problematic is the cemetery side.
Yeah.
It still gets a lot of growth and stuff like that on it, so.
We also have to make sure that whoever's cleaning over there, that they don't blow with their blowers trash
Into the water.
into the pond, which has happened last year and the year before.
Yeah, that could have been last year, right?
It wasn't last year.
It wasn't the year before, yeah.
The year before,
right,
yeah. Yeah, that was a little snafu.
I'm just switching gears slightly though, is there, I know when Jessica was here once before, is there, sort of a long-term plan for the reconstruction of Union Street?
Yes, there
You mean
is,
paving?
there's no city money.
No, but there's, it's more than paving, we're talking about all the
Yeah.
infrastructure underneath,
There,
so water, sewer,
there-
gas.
we've been working, with Mass DOT and, trying to get, as part of the Complete Streets, which would basically, the emphasis shift is from just doing things for cars, and now involving bikes and pedestrians in the DOT monies. So there's a pot of money this year that's available for, or maybe it's next fiscal year that's available for complete program, for improvements that are really targeting complete streets. There aren't, my understanding is that the application that we're putting forward is pretty strong and would have a good chance of being funded, but there's no, right now there's no dedicated money
Right.
for any improvements.
But that work, a lot of that work is underground too, so we're talking water, sewer, gas, all that stuff before they just repave the street.
Yeah, a lot of it's, you know, contacting the correct utilities and letting them know that, you know, this is gonna happen, and having them get in there to do
Yeah.
their improvements. Where we have city-owned utilities, the DPW's been involved from the beginning, so they're able to plan for, you know, what they need to do. And then obviously, if I'm not familiar with the complete scope of it.
And presumably they're gonna still try to line up Liberty and Railroad?
I think there's something that's gonna be, there's going to be a change there. I don't know what the details of that is gonna be. I think the realignment was, it's too expensive.
You have to go through the park.
Yeah,
Parking lot.
just with the amount of, like, that would eat up way too much of all the project budgets.
Okay.
But they are looking at traffic calming along the entirety of Union Street, specifically looking at the bike path crossing, adding bike lanes where the road is too narrow to add bike lanes and keep parking. There'll be the shared driving lane, bike lanes put in. There'll be landscaping improvements and on the sidewalks, and a lot of the sidewalks are would be replaced as necessary too.
Good. That was another pet peeve, that wasn't a cleanup day.
Jessica mentioned to me earlier today that once the mill project's done, that's probably gonna be the next area of focus.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I'm
Once,
sorry.
once the mill projects are done.
Oh, okay.
So, you know,
Yep.
when the dust settles, it's probably another year. I mean, you know, most of the work will be done this summer, but that's where she's gonna be.
I just, whenever we have vendors or folks from out of town come to the bank, they just comment about Union Street all the time. That's just their memory of coming to East Hampton is driving down Union Street.
Well, they still remember us, right?
Yes, for all the wrong reasons, though, David, for all the wrong
I'd
reasons.
say the road was really bumpy, but the stores were great.
They love, if
That
it made them slow.
ESB, man.
Yeah, they love Cottage Street, nice,
Yeah.
but
I fought my 95-year-old father-in-law, who's been with us for almost a year now, comments on that street.
Yeah.
Because his back
At
used
least you go slow, what's the point of traffic calming?
it would actually be better if the pavement was removed. I've seen dirt roads in better shape.
I'm totally up in Hilltowns.
I guess the road itself is traffic calming.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
Sure.
Okay.
I have a pet peeve with the bike lanes on the roads, because they don't really keep them painted. Like over time, cities and towns that have those little lanes,
Hmm.
you know, they become nondescript because they
Yeah.
wear out, they don't
Yeah.
keep repainting them, I don't know, it seems like a waste.
It's a major redesign, because right now,
Yeah.
if you had a bike lane there and you had cars parked there, right now it's bad enough if a car opens its door with cars
Totally.
coming, never mind a
Yeah.
bike coming.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay, well, we've kind of deviated from the cleanup day. Anything else about cleanup day?
I think advertising is the key, just
I'll
keep.
I'll
Well,
get
if
it
you'll-
on the
if you'll talk-
ECA Plus site,
I'll take,
Okay.
calendar.
Well, I'll
Okay.
talk to Pat Ruff at his site, and then
Yep.
planning board Facebook site, and then.
Yeah.
And I'll have the poster done
I'll take care of the Gazette.
tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay. Next thing is the property zoning discussion. And this kind of led out of our talk about 130 Cottage Street. But then we started to get into how do we address other zoning questions. Other properties where the zoning is kind of up in the air, and you gave us that great list.
Yep. So do we need to look at it again, or?
I don't think so. unless anyone wants
I don't have it with me, but I have it.
I can make copies if you want.
I guess it was more of a question of, so what's the
What are we gonna
end
do?
game?
What are we gonna do?
I
Yeah.
mean, it's up to the committee. I mean, obviously, it started with, looking at just the 130 Cottage Street, and then, I went through and tried to identify the parcels that have uses that are, non-conforming to the zone designation. Principally the commercial retail in a residential zone, that are near to one of the commercial retail zones, so it makes sense to look at those properties. So this was the list that was come up with, but it's up to the committee if there's if you wanna go any further with it, and
I think we
And-
should
and
just
how?
be supportive, I don't think, you know, 'cause it's up to the landowner, and then if something comes, if the landowner wants to do something, and then the obstacle comes, well, zoning won't allow it, as long as the planning department, which I know happens, it makes them aware that, well, if you had this zone, and, you know, you went through the zone change, which is not an onerous process, it does take a little bit of time, when it's landowner driven, you know, it's not the same as, a brand new petition, that we'd be supportive of, but otherwise, you know, unless someone wants to do the, groundwork of approaching these people and explaining to them that, you know, your property might be a good idea to have a zone change, and you're gonna go, well, what's in it for you? You know, so we can avoid that at the moment, you know, and just, I don't know, I think it's a good list to have, I think it's good information, but I think we should just be supportive and, you know, let it be at that.
What about the reverse, Jamie, when there's a business operating out of what appears to be a residence in a residential section?
that's what I was,
Well, you added the caveat, though, if it was near the business district. There are some that aren't anywhere near a business district.
so I did not look at those because those would be, if you have, you know, the principal is, the one that comes to mind is the, Rain or Door.
Yeah.
And there's no, like, plausible reason for why the city council could rezone that to a business use, because it's in the middle of residential zone.
Right.
It becomes spot zoning, which is illegal. The state has determined that that's an illegal way to do zoning, and, it could work in the short term, but if it gets challenged or appealed or, reviewed by the state and it's thrown out, then that throws a lot of, you know, whatever happened since into question. You know, if there were situations, I mean, the piece that comes to mind for me is, Northampton Street between the Highway Business District and the Neighborhood Business District. There's a short stretch of road, there's a couple of, stores that are operating on either R15 or R10. And, you know, that corridor, if that made sense to look at the whole corridor, then the whole corridor would be, you know, maybe it makes sense to rezone that whole corridor, you know, one lot deep, maybe neighborhood business or downtown business or highway business or whatever, but not to go through and just say this lot and then skip 4,
Yeah.
and then this lot and then skip 4.
Right. Where is that line today on Northampton Street?
If you
In
look.
reference to, say,
right.
Tasty Top, coming towards town.
So the.
Groveland Street.
What are landmarks
Roland
over
Street.
here?
Yeah, thank you. Cernak, the end of Cernak, Cernak
Fuel.
oil,
Yeah.
fuel, is the end of the highway business district, and then the neighborhood business district starts, right about where the transfer station is, street.
Oh, so that
Right,
whole
right.
section, there's a hair place in there.
Yeah.
There used to be a
So-
dance studio
Mhm.
on the
You got the
east
opposite
side.
black
Yeah,
place.
so on the
Office
west side
Square.
of the street is zoned R15, the eastern side of the street is zoned R10. And there's about 4 or 5 businesses in there.
Yeah. Hairdressers, yeah.
What do you do when, oh yeah, here they are, Northampton Street. When neighbors complain, like there's on Glendale Street, the bottom part of Loudville, before Glory Days,
Mhm.
back behind one of the houses there, it looks like a plumbing business. The big red-
Been there forever.
Been there
Right,
forever,
so-
it's always
so-
been there.
Our zoning,
It's
our
an
zoning
office.
allows
It's an office.
for home occupations, if you live on the property, you can run a business out of your home. The current version is if it has, you know, no non-resident employees and no visitors, it's permitted by right. If you are gonna have some non-resident employees, or you're gonna have people coming to the site, clients, customers, whatever, then you need a special permit. A lot of these businesses that are sort of randomly in residential districts are originally permitted as home occupations. And then, you know, sometimes things happen and they're sold and people are using it for different things and we're not aware of it, that they're in violation of their special permit until a complaint's made.
I mean, in the old days, a lot of your variety stores were in residential
Yeah.
neighborhoods. They were there for a reason. That's where people walked to
Right.
pick up the milk and bread or whatever,
Mhm.
and many of them still exist today, but they're in residential neighborhoods. But
Right. And so then the other way that happens is it's pre-existing non-conforming. Our first zoning ordinance was passed in 1951. So any of those uses that have been around, you know, if you had that commercial storefront in the middle of the residential neighborhood, and it's, you know, it started in 1920 or whatever, like and it's always been commercial, well, that's granted that exception. So, and the use can change by a mechanism in the zoning ordinance. So some of those properties, while they're zoned R5, they have the use of, you know, whatever has been there.
Well, I'm in agreement that the list is a valuable list.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great that we as a board can support people that maybe come forward on the list that have changes or something, in the fact that they could maybe be notified at that time of what's possible for them, but.
Are you able to update us on this as changes are made?
Sure.
Okay, then I think probably we don't really need to take any more action then on it.
No.
Just to have it as one of our tools. Okay, we need to get you a copy.
Yes.
Can-
I'll make a copy
Make a
after the
copy.
meeting.
Okay. Local business buyer card. We started talking about that last month. This born a little bit out of our discussion about local work. That's right, Clay. Just a sec. We thought about it being in conjunction with the chamber, possibly, having something that people could help drive people to various different businesses, incentive.
Yeah, I don't know how you pull it off. We've talked about this off and on for years, but if I chose to, I could go to Northampton and buy a downtown card, if you want to call it that, and they could use it at 20 different businesses.
Mhm.
And I don't know how the businesses participate or how the chamber does, if they do, or who benefits or what have you.
I'm
but-
not sure if the chamber is involved, but my wife manages a new store in Florence, and I know that they have a separate device just for that card.
Mhm. The Northampton Chamber is,
Yeah, you
Are they
buy
Yeah, they
you
drive
buy
that.
them from the chamber office, I think.
yep, they drive that, and we had looked into this, I guess maybe a couple of years ago, but I can get some more updated information and we can take the conversation from there. I do know that there, has been discussion, within the chamber board for something of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, today, obviously, holidays or whatever, I can buy a gift card at Big E's, I can buy one at Manchester's. But can I buy one in one place that might work at
In multiple.
Mountain Ice Cream,
Yeah.
or a gallery?
It must be
I
like,
think-
even Williston has button bucks.
But those are for Williston students.
I realize that, but it's still, it was set up.
Similar
The
process.
process,
Similar
Right.
But
process.
the issue with the Williston Bucks is that they take 10%.
I have no idea about details or no
Well,
knowledge.
that
of
would be the
details.
thing too.
Right.
You know, and
We
then
would
for
do
us,
something like that, 'cause
that's
we
our
would
margin.
Right.
And the
So it's-
Northampton Chamber makes money.
It-
Right, it's
it
gonna be,
doesn't-
it's gotta be, there's gotta be a slight profit margin in there for who's running the program, right?
Yeah. For button
Or
bucks.
administrative anyway. you know.
Correct.
For button bucks, for the businesses that accept button bucks, Do they have to have special equipment?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Are you one of them?
No.
Right.
Okay, so
And
do
that's
you-
a-
No, we inquired about it, but they take 10%, plus there's like $250 to buy the
Right.
unit. And then, so it's sort of like, all right, so we basically don't make a profit,
Just so we get.
just
their
so we can
business.
drive business in, and it's sort of like, you know what?
No.
No, I don't blame you.
And I
I mean,
would
credit
think
cards
Will-
take 2% of our sales already, and it's sort of like.
I wouldn't think Williston students would be that much of
We
business.
get some fairly regulars out
Do
of
you really?
cards, yeah.
Okay.
And so you still get Williston
You're
students.
still
come
getting
anyway,
anyway,
still come
so,
anyway.
And when their parents come, they just flip out the charge card.
yeah.
Yeah.
And your comments is pretty consistent with what I
Yeah.
hear.
Heard from businesses.
Our margin is so slim, it's, you hate, although you wanna encourage
Purchase
it,
new equipment or
you know.
rented equipment.
I will ask Kate's manager though, what, or the owner, is it the Blue Marble, what the cut that she has to pay for that.
I mean, there's also a possibility of doing a card system that doesn't actually have any, it's just the owner of the card. There's no system, I've seen where like it entitles you to, 2% off
Or like the East Hampton High School thing.
yeah.
Right.
And so it's
The
just
Eagles
like,
card, yeah.
for the
Eagles card,
year
yeah.
that's on the front of the card, you get,
Yeah.
whatever, and so there's no,
There's no stored value.
system
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
track it and separate swiping machines and
But see,
things
the
like
beauty of
that.
the cards today is the business or the chamber can issue the card, and then most cards today like that can be reloaded. So you're not just reissuing new cards every time you turn around, you say, I wanna do another $100 for Christmas, you just go
Yeah.
back and pay the chamber $100 and reload the card.
I think that's a better business model for what we're looking for.
Mm.
But also,
Yeah.
then you could also, I'm just throwing out there, paper gift certificates used to be,
Yeah,
and like,
Yeah.
there's no reason why, if the cost, if it's gonna, we're gonna go down a road that's gonna cost $250 or even $100 per device.
Well,
and
and it's not only the cost to the merchant, it's gonna be a cost,
to set it up.
it's just like a
and
credit
to-
card. Every time you go swipe your
Yeah.
card,
Mhm.
somebody's making money off of it
Right.
somewhere.
No, that's
besides
the
merchant.
paper trail actually
Yeah.
is not a bad method that people would be willing to try.
Yeah, and so before rolling it out to some grandiose electronic system, maybe going with just, getting some like
But-
fancy printed paper and.
But here's the thing though,
Yeah.
so if you were to do that, you would, you would need a central location, i.e. the chamber,
Mhm.
to take money in. Then once we get the money in, then we're paying the money out to the merchant.
Yeah, there's some administrative.
So
Yeah, there's still gonna be
it
administrative
kind
costs,
of-
but.
seems, I don't see the difference between that and going to the merchant and getting a gift certificate or a gift card right from there.
Well, the difference would be convenience on the sake of the
Buyer.
buyer.
Say art walk is happening and you wanna invite somebody and you say, okay, here's a gift card.
Yeah.
In a lot of places, go to the art walk and people are like,
Yeah.
oh, we can go to the restaurant, or we can go to the hardware store, or we can
You
go
get a
to.
piece of candy after.
Yeah.
You know,
So there's
Yeah.
gonna be checks cut back and forth. all
Do you,
over.
well, do you
Okay.
ever,
That's just.
I don't know how often you communicate with Suzanne?
Mhm.
Is that Northampton?
I mean, they've been doing it forever.
Mhm.
Let's ask them
Ask her if it's
how they
okay.
do it.
That's what I was just saying.
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
find that out.
Okay.
I would
Oh,
find
okay.
that
Because
out.
she might say
Then you
to
can call the vendor directly and
Yeah,
find out.
yeah,
about that.
but Suzanne might say, "Sure, if I had a way to get rid of this, I'd get rid of it tomorrow, then we
Yeah.
know, okay, then maybe stay. But if she tells you, sings its praises, then
Yeah, why don't you do that and get back to us?
Sure.
you
Well,
talk to them.
there might be a new phone app too now, you never know, because they're coming out with
They
stuff
very
all the
well
time.
could be.
Yeah, phone
That's
app would
probably
be
the
the
way to
cheaper
go,
way.
because
Yeah.
that's what they do now,
Yeah.
like a different kind of PayPal, but
PayPal.
I've
just
got
done
all
on your
my
phone,
store
you know?
cards on here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's one app.
that's all you need,
Okay,
so maybe it's
Cool.
gonna gear up to
Love it.
different technology.
Good, we gave them something to do.
solar, could we move on to the next?
Yes.
Solar panel,
I'm sorry I did not do anything last month, so, I will revisit it. I realized that 2 days ago. I haven't done anything,
that's okay?
but selling house on the vineyard, I've been
Sure,
back and forth
okay.
a bunch of times, so,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, closing the end of the month. Yeah, it is
It
interesting.
is amazing, yeah, well.
Elementary school space development. I know this is a long ways off, but every once in a while.
Yeah, that one should, I mean, it should stay here somewhere, but it really needs to be sort of on long range.
Yeah.
It's probably a 4-year outlook on it, but it is moving and moving quickly. I mean, the mayor told me this morning, did you go to Boston yesterday?
Well, it was last Monday.
Or last Monday? But they got the approval on the project manager, right? Now-
Yep, and then we have a meeting coming up in,
fill me up a little bit on the?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The building of a new school, elementary school.
Yeah.
Potential pre-K through 8, one building,
Middle /
which
elementary.
which eliminates all the other school buildings. They become surplus property, so Center, Pepin, White Brook gets demolished probably, but Center, Pepin, Maple ends up being, you know, available for economic development potentially, and they're right in the heart of our downtown. So whether it's housing or retail or office space, there's a strong possibility of some, I thought all along, a huge economic boon to the city with those properties being in, I mean, they're not the best properties today for schools by today's standards, but
No.
they're great for other things.
Yeah.
That's definitely hitting the nail on the head as far as the essence, but to back up a tiny bit, you know, so the state approved the selection of the owner's project manager, so there's gonna be like an 18-month period where they're gonna give us like between 5 and 8 scenarios of school concepts. And we're leaning hard to what Tom said, K through 8. But it could be something else. And during this process, once it gets nailed down, the owner's project manager also helps us select a designer. And then basically, so November 17, we should be voting on something. And then going forward. But everything Tom just said is definitely the essence and what is going to be used as sales points to help drive the process.
But to your point, Dave, that could be the view from 30,000 feet. The state could ultimately say, nope, we're just gonna give you money to replace Maple Street School.
The meeting we went to on Monday was your classic, it was an awesome meeting, was your classic anticlimactic meeting, meaning here's your approval, I don't know why you guys didn't do this 5 years ago. Can we get a move on? They get it.
Well, except they were the roadblock for us 5 years ago.
But the current board, the current makeup is like, your Maple Street School was built in what, 1894, 1895? And, you know, I mean.
That's where my kids went.
Yeah, and mine as well. My wife went there. But as far as the read between the lines sarcasm was like, you know, guys.
But we, you know, and not to dredge up all history, Casey, but we tried to do a single elementary school before the high school, and the state forced us to pick a school. So we would have had to either replace Center, Pepin, or Maple, and we said, that's crazy, why would we do that? So we went for the high school. Now, the tide has changed in Boston, and they're more agreeable and favorable to a single school. I mean, a lot of people in this town, a lot of us can probably recall going through a K through 8 school. So it's not the end of the world, and there's a lot of positive benefits to it with mentoring and leadership programs and all kinds of things.
Well, and that's going to be some of the concept work because there's a few different physical scenarios. It could simply be 2 buildings with a breezeway.
Right.
It could be 2 stories, or 1 story is K through 3, or and there's different things based upon there's different few models in the state. But that's what they'll be showing.
And to your point, Dave, about the selling point is, the city has an opportunity to retire 4 old buildings and put everything into 1 building. So there's just a ton of inherent savings in there. The mayor's been very open about it. I mean, White Brook Middle School consumes 33% of the city's energy bill, 1 building.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a hog.
Wow.
It's a hog.
So you get rid of that building and build a brand new building, and you've got some
Yeah.
instant savings in your ongoing.
So everything would go at that location?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so the only reason we have.
Okay, yeah.
The only reason we have it on our agenda is, I think it is an economic development issue when the time comes. And there's gonna be a lot of different, from past history, there's gonna be a lot of different possible roads to take. There's gonna be groups of people that are gonna wanna save the buildings, a la Parsons Street. There's gonna, and Memorial Hall, there's gonna be groups of people that are gonna say, knock it down and let a developer do what they wanna do with it. I mean, if you could imagine Maple Street School, and those of you like Casey who had kids go through there, you know how much land is with that.
Yeah.
Imagine the school being gone and you put housing right at the end of your business district.
Well, so yeah, we're gonna have lots of those different groups, so we have to, I think the thing is for us is to stay abreast on it as best we can.
And so I don't know if it actually stays on an agenda, but it's gotta be out there somewhere on
I
our
think,
radar screen.
we could just stay on it,
Yep.
and if we don't need to talk about it, say nothing this week.
Yep,
That's
that's
fine.
perfect, perfect.
Okay, and then the last one was the master plan, and that's kind of the same type of thing. We talked about it a little bit before. This is a plan that was done 10 years ago.
Was it that
It's getting you there, yeah.
10 years
Wow.
ago. Every once in a while, we'll go back and just readdress it. Yeah, see.
And I'm on the board for the city space, and I just would like to report that things are really moving very nicely on that. We just, Kuhn Riddle was just hired to do some drawings for us, because we got a grant for that. And those will be available, well, we just bumped up probably about June 1st.
Is this the second floor?
The second floor, the second
Great.
floor.
That's exciting.
So those will be available June 1st, and then we're gonna start a major fundraising campaign when we get some more idea of what kind of money, depending on what we're doing. But we're applying for other grants that we can use, so.
Yeah,
Kind of
that too,
exciting.
that becomes a magnet with a lot of people spilling out.
Yep,
Good work.
yep,
Spilling out
Yeah,
the
definitely.
galaxy.
Yep,
yep.
okay. You say something? I was gonna say, does anyone else have anything else?
I just have a article that passed out. I don't want to talk about it now. It's not a big deal. It was just in the Mass Live yesterday about a project in
Yesterday.
yeah, okay, the project
Okay.
in Hoyle. My main point about it is that you're gonna see obviously a little corollary with
Oh, you gave me that.
One Ferry Street, but
An extra.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm not driving at One Ferry Street so much. My point was that it's a project of collaboration. That's all. And that's all. I just wanted just an example. And you read at your leisure. That's all.
Well, to your point though, Dave, in collaboration, if you go to middle of page 2 and look at what they start referring to as funding sources, and look at all the various places the money came from. You know, $2 million from the state brownfield, $1 million from Hoyoke Gas and Electric, $400,000 from Hoyoke Economic Development, $250 from Eversource. A lot of people came together to make that work.
Right.
The key being the first one,
Yeah.
with One Ferry Street, is the brownfields. You know, that
Yeah.
obviously is an issue at One Ferry Street, but a lot of folks came together to make that work financially.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Cubic building moving into the Holyoke's Community College culinary programs moving into a building down there, and that was there.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of people involved. The
Yeah.
casino was actually involved, some of their money was involved.
Now, where's that one located, please?
It's on Ray Street,
Okay.
but it's the same thing. It was, tons of people went up there and spoke because they were contributing to it.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah.
So Holyoke qualifies as one of the gateway cities, which gets targeted by the state for
Mhm.
extra consideration and extra money, and that there are programs that are specifically targeted for redevelopment of gateway cities. And East Hampton is not a gateway city, so just to, not to like say,
No,
like,
the whole- right.
but I mean, it's just,
Perspective.
but there is, there are many other state programs that,
Well,
Ferry
no, your
Street
point
could
is
be,
well taken. 'Cause
Ferry
I
Street could be
I look at it like
looked
this
at,
though.
but, we need the cooperation of the owner.
Well, no, I realize that, but if look at it this way, to try to follow this metaphor, if Holyoke as a gateway city is the New York Yankees or the Boston Red Sox, then we're the Oakland A's. We have to play Moneyball. We're not going to have all the same partners, but we have to pick a few partners. So we just do our things well. The owner obviously is tremendous. No cooperation from the owner, then we can just pound sand all day long. But that's all I wanted to bring out. Is just that something down there at some point in time, but maybe the owner needs to be enlightened a little bit at some point in time. I mean, I don't mean that in a condescending way, but I know at one time he was thinking residential, but I'll tell you, every time you read about brownfields is going to get more, brownfields is going to become more than it has been. Not that it ever was better. It's, when you have these like North Bennington now has contaminated water, and a place like Pittsburgh's got contaminated water, so it's housing in some of these places is becoming a little problematic.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pass this out, we don't have to talk about it, but it's some numbers that put together from regional time of trying to get us an estimate of the amount of investment in the valley in the last 5 or so years, so I pulled this together for East Hampton.
Great.
Just for reference, if anyone has any comments or questions, we can talk about it another time.
Good.
Or offline, so.
Okay. So interesting, just a little point of order. We've had 3 things, added things, talked about here today that weren't on the agenda. I might say, let's try and put them in at either the beginning of public speak,
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, okay, yeah.
or for this, have this be part of your planning department report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is a sheet to be proud of with all the
Yes.
completed.
Oh, it's great.
yeah,
It's
totally.
really
This is good
wonderful.
work,
That's
yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very, very nice.
That, we can definitely work on that, Josh, but sometimes in the course of conversation,
Things
it brings
come-
things to mind
Yes,
that
that's
say,
what
That's
happened.
what
like my pet peeve
Oh, yeah,
conversation.
no, I mean, these things, no, I wanna, I appreciate everyone's efforts. And actually, I do have a clarification, a correction to make. Earlier in the meeting, I said, oh, great, everyone's here.
Clay, right?
Clay is not here. So we have 9 members, so we only have 1 slot.
I thought that, but I didn't know my math.
No, you called me on
I
it,
was
seriously.
getting, no, I was getting a little
One
nervous
left to
about my
go?
wedding.
One left to go,
No, I thought,
1
yeah.
opening, yeah.
I have one more thing.
Who are you
by the way.
missing now?
I did, and I'm assuming at least a few people at the table got the minutes that I finally prepared from November.
November,
Yes, I did get
So they're
those.
just drafts, so we
Yeah.
vote on those, did people
Well, I
read them?
think
Do
we had seen them earlier.
I don't think so, I didn't produce them.
Well, we voted on them last time.
Yes,
You
we
did?
did.
Yeah.
From November 11th.
Yeah.
We put on the fake.
I
Yeah,
guess
'cause that
we
was
thought
last-
we had all seen them.
Huh.
Well, should we make it official and vote on them now?
Oh, it's okay with me, I just.
Well, I read them
thought
this morning and
dropped the ball.
nothing jogged at me, so I make a motion that we approve them.
Okay, a second.
Second, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I did bring them with me too.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I mean, I was supposed to do them, and I didn't,
know.
so I don't know who
Yes,
did,
that's
so I just did.
No,
them.
I think we were in error.
No, I
Wait,
think
who
the city
seconded
does.
that?
If you wanna,
I
if you wanna
second
sign it and leave it with me,
Yep.
I will get it
Yep.
to the,
That's great, thank you, Jane.
Get Jamie, real quick, under jogging somebody's thought process, so the last one on the list, nothing's happening there
Oh, yeah, Stop and Shop.
that you're aware of?
Oh, no.
nothing that I know of. I mean, like I saying, that the permits, it's all permitted, everything's done on the city end, it's between the landowner and the, and Stop and Shop,
Okay.
so.
Okay. Our next meeting is April 19th. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
I'm probably
Thank you.
not here for that meeting.
Okay.
Maybe it's
Will you
correct.
remind me when I send out the thing that we
I
tried?
will respond to you. If, well, I may not even, well, yeah.
You got a
I'm
smartphone.
far away.
You got a
I'm far away.
smartphone, they're
I'm far
everywhere.
away.
As long as you got Wi-Fi. I will send everyone the corrected minutes from last meeting, as well as the poster for Make Peanut Day.
Perfect.
Thank you all. This meeting is adjourned.
So one question for you.